Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Dipa and Ghosh, and welcome back to another JavaScript video. So in this video, we're going to be talk about things like promises and asynchronous programming. If you're a beginner in JavaScript, you should learn this promise and asynchronous programming I mean, if you're a beginner in JavaScript, right? If you're trying to learn or trying to make projects in JavaScript, this may help you to make your projects very much easier and very much short-coded. So yeah, so without any wasting time, let's get started. Right. So what promises is a promise is a proxy for a value not necessarily known when the promise is created. It allows us to associate handlers with an asynchronous actions, eventually success, value or failure reasons, right? This async method returns values like synchronous methods instead of immediately returning the final value. Then the asynchronous method returns a promise to supply the value at some point in the future, right? So this what this promise does, suppose you have a function, you suppose you have a function which have a promise, and that function takes two param. Let that param be something like a value or error. And if you define a something, let's say x equals 0, and if we give this, if x equals 0, then the the a param will take that, yeah, it's working. And if it's not x equals 0, then the param 2 will say that it's error. Then after that we can do dot then method to return, so I'm sorry, dot then method to call the functions from there, to log the function that these things are working or not. So promise is this, it helps us to keep a promise until and unless when you run it. All right. So let's learn what are three states of promises. So first one is pending, which is an initial state neither fulfilled nor rejected. Second one is fulfilled promise. This promises me this promises this fulfilled promise means that the operation was completed successfully. I mean, like as I said that if x equals 0, it's okay. If not 0, then kind of error. So this is a fulfilled promise. And next one is rejected, which is that operation failed. If x equals 1, and if x equals 0, then if if x equals 0, then it's right. If x equals not 1, then if else, error. So if you give x equals 1 as a variable, then it will give an error. So that is a rejected promise. So a pending promise can either be fulfilled with a value or rejected with a reason error, as I have said before. All right, so that's a lot more talking. Let's jump into the VS Code. Let's learn promises. Let's see some examples which will help you to learn asynchronous and promises. Okay, so let's get started. All right, guys, so welcome back. So one thing I forgot to say is that for learning promises and asynchronous programming, you have to learn what is callbacks. And what callbacks is, I'm going to show you an example in sec. So let's think we have a function, and this function will take my thumb, and this my thumb will have a and b, and this will return the a plus b, right? And over here we'll give console.log, and we'll say my sum will give 5 comma 5, and let's run the program. We'll give 10. So what this thing does is that it define a function which is my sum, and this my sum function takes two parameters, and we're gonna return those parameters by adding themselves, right? Next, what I'm gonna do, we have to log this function, and we have to put two values over here as these two parameters. So if I give two value over here, it will return the value and will add themselves. So this what it does over here. I have give 5 comma 5, it will give 10. If I give 9, it should give 14. um, let's run. Yeah, it's give 14. So this is what callbacks is. And if I give minus over here, and we get -4 because the lower one is over here. If I give 9 over here and 5 over here, it will give 4. Right? We can do anything like we can divide. Let's say you'll give 0.555. Well, it's pretty crazy, right? If I give this star over here, we'll give multiplication. We'll get 9 4 times. Sorry, 5 times 9 is 45. And if I give another star over here, let's get like just like that. And if I run, it will give this number. And what this A star 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 B means is that 5 to the power 9. It means that 5 will multiply 9 times over here. So if I multiply 5 9 times over here, it will give this value, which is the correct one, if my math is good. All right, so this is the callback. All right, so let's learn promises. Promises. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that let promise will define a variable as new promise. We're going to use new keyword, new promise method over here. Promise, and this promise will take a function, and this function will take two params, which is a and b. Okay, so in this function, we're gonna give let x equals 0, and if x equals 0, we're gonna say return, no, not return, sorry, we're gonna give console.log and log the log, no, not log, actually we're gonna give a, and we're gonna type okay, it's working. And if I give else, if it's not x equals 0, we give b, and we'll say oops, and error occurs, right? All right. After that, we'll give promise, and we're gonna use .then method, and this then method will have a function of let's say this function will take a value, and sorry, what's happening? Yeah, then we're gonna log the value. Okay. Next, we're gonna give another function. We'll have error. After that, we're gonna log the error. All right, so let's run and let's see what's happened. You see, okay, it's working because this x equals 0, and if x equals 0, it's working. So let me see what this happened. Okay, so we have defined a promise over here. It's a variable. This promise variable will take a new promise method, and this promise method will take a function which have two params over here. I mean parameter or params, whatever you say. And inside this function we'll have let x equals 0, just for a basic syntax. Um, then we have defined x equals 0, and if I see if x is equals 0, then we'll say okay, it's working. And if it's not x equals 0, we'll say, oops, an error occurs. Then what I'm going to do is that we're going to use promise dot then, and we're going to log the value and log the error, just like that. Okay, we're going to rename this anything if you want, but we're going to say, I mean, it just makes sense if you give value and error words over here. Okay, so if I give, let's give 5 over here, which probably we get an error. Let's give node, and we say, oops, it's an error occurred. So this is how promise work. So let's start with async and await syntax in JavaScript. Okay, so we're gonna use async as an async keyword in JavaScript. And we're going to use functions, and this function will say my func, and this func will take a function. Inside this function, we're going to use a variable, which will be let's say let promise. You're going to use promise, right? Next promise will say new promise, and this promise will take another function, will take a parameters of a and b. Um, and this a and b function will the a and b function will have a set timeout method, which comes in built in JavaScript. So this set timeout method will have a function, and inside this function we have we will have the let's say we will have the a to call the hello world, right? And this will have 3000 milliseconds to run. It's probably 3 seconds, right? And after that, we're gonna use console.log the promise. So we'll use await syntax. Let's say promise, and let's save, and let's see what happens. So we got an error, and what this error says is that missing. Sorry, I need to give this console.log over here, and we need to run this function. So we'll give my func. Let's save it, and let's wait 3 seconds. I guess it will run. Oh, here we go. We have hello world. So this async method takes a function which is my func, and this my func will take a variable which is promise, and this variable promise will have a promise of parameter a and b, and we're going to use set timeout, which is an inbuilt function in JavaScript. You don't have to do install packages or something like that. It will come in inbuilt in JavaScript, and it's kind of async and await kind of methods is this, so it will run good in async and await. After that, we have run the hello world in 3 seconds, and after that we have logged the promise. After that, you need to use await. If you don't give await, we'll get an error. So if you want to use await, you have to use async, and if you want to use async, you have to use await. Okay, so this was the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe that button and to the like button. And yeah, next video is coming. Just comment me down below which type of videos you want to be in next. And yeah, and most important, join my online classroom. As I have said, join my Discord community. Link in the description down below. And if you want to join, sorry, if you want to talk with me, if you want to follow me in social medias, all the social medias are linked in the description down below, so you may follow me in the social medias and join my classroom. All right, guys, see you guys later.